Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about the Owl House again. I'm assuming if you're here, you're either curious about the show, which in that case I would say go watch it, skip this video. If you were here and you've seen the show, I assume that you're watching because of how I titled the video. So today I want to discuss my thoughts about how I think the show is going to end. I'm not considering these theories, I'm not considering these predictions because I want to talk about several things, and if I called it predictions, eventually, in some way I'm going to be right or completely wrong. So I just want to talk about my ideas of how I think the show will end, and at the end, I want to include how I think the show should end for the most satisfying emotionally and satisfaction for the fans. So let's get into it. First, I want to talk about what I think won't happen for the ending. Now, many in the fandom are aware that Dana doesn't like fairy tale endings, and we do know that Disney is not afraid to make an ending be somber. With that, I also don't think the ending will be tragic, as in multiple character deaths. Maybe we'll get one or two, but I don't think it'll be 4 or 5. And I don't think it'll be a situation in where they don't defeat the Collector. Many fans do believe that this might be an outcome we'll get, and while it is possible and no one actually truly does know, I don't think Disney or Dana is going to make a situation where they've built all this up just to have the Collector win, or say we lose half the cast. I will go further into my thoughts on this in my later points, but I just wanted to clarify that I do not believe it's going to be a total disaster of an ending. Another thing I want to say won't happen is that there are some fans that are afraid we might get a coma / all in a dream sequence kind of ending, all in the head. I do not believe this is something that's going to happen. While again, this is something completely possible, I do not think it is a route that Dana or Disney is going to go just for the mere fact that it would upset fans. Rarely is anyone ever satisfied with one of these endings, and I don't think this is a case where it would make any sense or please anybody. The Owl House does have plenty of fans that, even though they're canceling the show and they don't really have to worry about backlash, they really would suffer it, especially on Twitter and stuff, if they went with the ending like that. So I do not believe they're going to do a complete tragic ending, and I do not believe they're going to go with a coma / all in the head dream sequence type of ending. But with that said, I do want to move on to my ideas about how I do think the ending will go. So let's get into that. Into my ideas on how I think the show will end, I want to tackle these in the order that I think they're least likely to happen. So in my opinion, the least likely to happen ending is one in which they'd kill off either Luce or Amity. I really don't think Disney and Dana will go down this route, seeing as these are the two favorite characters in the fandom. Besides that, I think if they killed off one of these characters, there would be such a big backlash to Disney for several reasons, none of which I'm going to get into in this video, but we all know what the reasons would be. Now, besides that, though, I think it makes more sense for some other characters to be killed off. I think it would be more rewarding for some characters to die than others when it comes to story or emotional ties. I will explain that later in my further points, but that's really all I gotta say about that until I speak about it later. The only thing that puts a knot in this is the possibility that they've built up this story where they'll have Luce sacrifice herself to save everybody in the end. Now, I don't want this to happen, but I do think it is very possible, seeing as we have had plenty of times through the series where Luce is upset and blames herself for the things that are going on with Belos and then the Collector. Now, we have spent many time seeing Amity and Luce's friends and her mom building her up and telling her it's not her fault, but I don't think that alone is enough to say, well, she won't sacrifice herself. It is in her character. If the situation did come up, she would easily jump in the way and sacrifice herself to save everybody. Again, I don't think this is a really rewarding end, and I'll cover that later, but I really don't think it's a wise decision for the reasons I've mentioned. So let's continue on. Next, I want to talk about the possibility of them killing off Willow, Gus, or Hunter. I really don't think this is going to happen because I don't think it's a good decision in the sense that it's not really worth it to do it.
Besides upsetting Luce and Amity and the rest, it really doesn't do much for the story. There's really no reason to it. It'd be like a senseless death, and really, I mean, the only thing I could see that they could possibly do is maybe they kill one of them off, right? And then the anger the rest of them feel for it maybe is what gives them the strength to finish off the Collector. I know this is a repeated point that I've mentioned, but it's really the only thing I can think of that would work with either killing off one of these three or with, say, Luce or Amity. That's really the only thing I can see. I can't think of any other reason why you would do it, and I can think of a lot of reasons why you would pick other characters, which can talk about next. I want to talk about Eda. Now, I think Eda is a strong consideration for someone who might be killed off in the finale. Eda is like a second mother to Luce, really important character, a strong fan favorite, and I think it would be really upsetting, but work a lot for the story. Now, if they killed off Eda, it would really be like traumatizing to Luce. Like I said, she's like a second mother, and Eda is really important to the story because I think it's easy to say and believe that without Eda, Luce wouldn't have survived the Boiling Isles, maybe not even had a chance to go to Hexside, or meet the friends that she did, or meet Amity. I think the story really does matter a lot. You know, from the portal door to everything, Eda is really important. So I think her death would be very significant to everybody, but especially Luce. Now, I could see this as a situation like back when I talked about Luce sacrificing herself. I could see Eda jumping in the way to protect any one of the main characters, but Luce especially. Or King, for that matter. Luce or King would probably be the ones she would specifically jump in the way to protect. And I think this is something that could happen. Now, we've seen Eda already lost her arm, and even though she conquered the Owl Beast, the things between her and Rain, which I do want to think that maybe they won't kill off Eda because they want to finish things with Rain, but honestly, in the finale, since we're going to have like a 46-minute episode, they honestly could spend some time with Eda and Rain, and then right after that, like a lot of shows will do when you get a conclusion to something like that, is that she'll sacrifice herself. And maybe she'll even do it happily. I mean, for her perspective, she probably sees it as she got to go back to the person that she truly loved. She got to do a lot for Luce, got to take care of King. I think there's a strong possibility that they kill off Eda. And I think it is one of the most effective characters they could get rid of. Obviously, it would be terrible, but it would be effective in being kind of like traumatizing and upsetting, make Luce and everyone angry, and really challenge the Collector if he's responsible for her death. I think this is a really strong consideration, but not as strong as what I'm going to talk about next. Let's talk about Camila. I think Camila is the strongest option we have for someone to be killed off in the finale, if not the only person. Now let me explain. In season 3, Luce is confused while her palisman, later we find out, is string bean, doesn't hatch. We learn in season 3, episode 2, but it is rehashed from previous season, that a palisman will only hatch to its witch when they emit the thing they want the most. And for Luce, in season 3, episode 2, spoilers, sorry, that when she's talking to Camila, that all Luce wanted was to be accepted. Now, Luce was never felt accepted by her mom. I mean, her mom thought that what her hobbies and what she believed in witches was a little weird. She was never accepted by her fellow students in school and people around her. Now, in the Boiling Isles, that's a little different, but she's still seen as strange, as the human. But in season 3, episode 2, like I said, her mom finally understands her and accepts her as the witch she is, the witch she wants to be. And that makes Luce realize that's what she wanted all along, was to be accepted. And that's what enables String Bean to be hatched. Now, why do I bring this up? Because it is the biggest plot hole between Luce and Camila. Besides the fact that Luce promised to come back to Earth when everything was done, and to be fair, by the way the series is going, we could surmise that maybe after everything was done and the Collector was defeated, even if no one died, Camila would probably still give Luce the choice of where she wanted to live and stay, because she wouldn't want to force her away from Amity after accepting her for which she wants to be. Camila and her character would probably tell Luce to do what makes her happy, that she would be happy alone on Earth, or, just ask Luce to try to visit when she can, right? Whatever way that would go. But we all know something sad must happen, and I honestly believe that killing off Camila is probably the best option. I know that sounds messed up, but I think it does a lot. Like I said, things between Camila and Luce have been pretty much fixed. I mean, there's still emotion there, obviously, but the biggest thing about Camila accepting Luce is, dealt with. So if Camila died, I feel like it would be a situation like I've mentioned before. She would sacrifice herself to save Luce. I don't think they would have Camila... I mean, Camila would sacrifice herself to save any one of the kids. Yes, she would. But if they did kill her off, I feel like it would be to specifically protect Luce because that's her child. And I think in that, they would do the classic final words kind of thing, and Camila would tell Luce to do what she makes her happy. She already accepted her as the wish she wants to be. She would tell her not to feel guilty, maybe about going back to Earth. I mean, since she's not going to be there anymore, she's going to tell her to live the life she wants to be, which would be staying with Amity, right? So yes, we would still get a sad ending. We would still get something traumatizing for Luce. We would still get something that Luce needs to work through in the future and be emotionally upset about, right? I mean, knowing Luce, she would probably even blame herself, something she would need to work through. So it would be a sad ending. It wouldn't be a fairy tale ending, but it works. There's no plot holes between Camila and Luce. That settles the problem of what happens after the story. Because honestly, I think it's a little weird. While if everyone lived, yes, it would be sweet, and we probably could predict that Camila would let Luce decide where she wants to go instead of forcing her back to Earth. We could figure that, right? And she probably would give her the choice. And Luce would be conflicted. It would just be another issue, and it would be something not resolved for us fans at the end. So I think it makes sense to kill off Camila if they only kill off one person. And like the point before this, I think this even kind of works for Ida, but I think it works better for Camila, because even if Ida died and Camila lived, we still have the issue of where Luce goes and feeling trapped between the decision of going back to Earth or staying in the Boiling Isles for Amity. So I feel like I think it works out better for everything if Camila is the one who dies. And that is messed up, I do agree. But I think it works out that way, better for the story. And like I said, I think it's the most impactful choice that affects Amity and everyone else around her and leaves scars for the future, which obviously we're not going to get to see, so it's not a fairy tale ending. It's a very somber one, but can also be positive in the fact that, Luce will still have her friends, she'll still have Amity, she'll still have the Boiling Isles. I think it really does work. And if worse comes to worse, and they do kill off multiple characters, I think that a combination of both Ida and Camila works. Now, that would be really devastating, because that is both of Luce's mother figures, and that's horrible. But I think it feels the same situation I talked about with Camila, but also with Ida, that, Luce is going to be traumatized, and so is everybody else, but especially Luce, and she's really got to count on Amity and her friends to get past it in the future. Obviously, something we're not going to see. Again, a somber ending, but a semi-positive one for the people she has left. Now, I've blabbered on long enough. Again, these are my thoughts on how the show won't end and how the show might end. And this last point is how I think the show should end. Thanks for watching the video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. But until later, bye.